All right, let's just jump right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, we're tackling a seriously fascinating and frankly kind of a hard-hitting analysis of human stagnation today. Just a quick heads up though, we're not here for that sweet, fluffy, feel-good motivation. No way. Today, we're taking the bitter medicine. We're talking about the exact antidote you need to shock a completely stagnant, autopilot life back into motion. We're going to break down some incredibly eye-opening source material that's basically going to challenge everything you think you know about living a normal life.
Seriously, just think about the timeline of these past few years. Our lives were chugging along at a standard pace, right? And then, bam, 2020 hit. The lockdown became this massive turning point where the whole world just stopped. But when life slowly started back up in 2021, something really weird happened. 2022, 2023, 2024, they just blurred right past us. And suddenly, it's 2025. We look back and it's like, wait, where on earth did the time go? Years have literally vanished. And yet, for so many of us, our actual day-to-day lives haven't changed one bit. We constantly think about doing big things, but nothing ever actually happens.
So that brings us to part one, the bitter truth. It's time for a reality check.
Because before we can fix a single thing, we've got to take a really honest look at the life we consider to be completely normal. Because as our source material points out so well, what we accept as standard is very often just a comfortable trap. Take a second to think about this uncomfortable parallel. Imagine folks living on the street, just surviving day to day. To them, the noise, the struggle, that endless repetitive cycle of just finding food, that's their normal. But when you look at your own life, is it really fundamentally all that different? You wake up, you commute, you do the exact same job, you eat the same food, you worry about money. You're surviving on a slightly more comfortable tier, sure, but it is an endless loop. That isn't actually normal. It's just become normalized to you.
And honestly, this brilliantly explains why you get that sudden sinking feeling of emptiness during those rare moments when you aren't just staring at a screen. You have this deep internal realization that you are meant for so much more. There are literally 1,000 things you want to experience, but you just feel completely paralyzed. That emptiness, that is your brain screaming at you that you're trapped in a low-tier version of your actual potential.
Which leads us perfectly into part two, Alcatraz, fear or freedom.
If you're actually ready to break out of that low-tier life, we need to figure out exactly what's keeping you locked inside. And to do that, we're going to look at the legendary 1979 story of the escape from Alcatraz. Now, Alcatraz was known as America's most dangerous, totally inescapable prison. But this notorious inmate, Frank Morris, he decided he just wasn't going to accept that. He and 3 other guys planned this incredibly intricate escape over 6 entire months. But on the actual night of the escape, with the path to absolute freedom wide open, one of the inmates backed out. He was completely paralyzed by fear. And guys, here's the staggering punchline to all of this. The punishment for getting caught escaping? It wasn't torture. It was literally just a few days in a dark isolation cell. 99% of the prisoners, including the guy who backed out, sacrificed a lifetime of absolute freedom simply because they were terrified of a minor 3-day discomfort.
And this story, it speaks directly to us. Think about it. Escaping a mediocre life doesn't actually require more physical effort than struggling through a miserable one day after day. We stay in our unfulfilling routines because, let's be honest, we're often just too afraid to face the temporary discomfort that change requires. We'd rather stay in the familiar prison cell of our comfort zone than face the brief, scary uncertainty of stepping out into the unknown.
All right, moving on to part 3, the monkey and the brain's RAM.
So fear keeps us in the cell, right? But what keeps us so distracted while we're sitting in there? Think about the famous parable of the monkey and the peanut. Hunters actually trap monkeys using this super simple trick. They put a peanut inside a heavy glass jar with a really narrow opening. The monkey reaches in, grabs the peanut, and makes a fist. But the opening is way too small to pull a closed fist back out. To escape, literally all the monkey has to do is just let go of the peanut. But it refuses. It holds on to this cheap, trivial prize even while the hunter is walking right up to it. Guys, we are that monkey. We completely refuse to let go of our own cheap peanuts. The endless gossip, the constant social media notifications, the mindless reels, worrying about what everyone else is doing.
And here is exactly why holding on to those peanuts is so incredibly destructive. In science and computing, everything takes up space, right? Well, our brain has an unlimited storage capacity for long-term memories, sure, but its RAM, its working memory, is strictly limited. This is the precious mental real estate where your active daily thoughts, your focus, and your immediate decisions are actually processed.
So, if your working memory is entirely jammed up with notifications, drama, and just endless doom scrolling, there is physically no space left to process big goals. People are always asking, man, am I just lazy? Do I lack intelligence? No, absolutely not. Your mental RAM is just completely overloaded with junk. Think of it like your phone. If you install 50 apps but you only really use 5, those background apps are still draining the battery. Whatever occupies your RAM dictates your daily actions, and ultimately it dictates the quality of your entire life.
Which brings us to part 4, the magic pebble, and living consciously. To clear out that mental RAM, we really have to wake up. Consider the tragedy of the golden pebble. It perfectly illustrates the severe danger of living your whole life on autopilot. There's this old story of a boy searching for a magic pebble on a beach that's just covered in regular stones. Now, the magic pebble, he was told, would feel warm to the touch and could literally turn anything into gold. So for months, he picked up cold stones and tossed them into the sea, just so he wouldn't check the same ones twice. Pick up, toss, pick up, toss. Finally, after 5 grueling months, he picks up a stone and it feels warm. But because his brain was completely stuck on autopilot, his hand just did what it had practiced doing thousands of times. He mindlessly tossed the magic gold-making pebble right into the ocean.
And that story brings us to this genuinely shocking number from our source material, 95%. According to the psychological analysis, 95% of our daily lives, our decisions, and our actions are executed purely through unconscious habits. 95%. We aren't actually present for most of our day. We are literally sleepwalking. And just like that boy on the beach, we are blindly tossing away golden opportunities every single day because we're stuck in this mindless loop of checking our phones and repeating the exact same routines.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is this: you have to stop living in illusions. The past, it only exists as memories inside your head. The future, that only exists as imagination in your head. Neither of them is real right now. The single, only real, actionable moment in the entire universe is the present. Your present moment is that golden pebble, and you just cannot afford to mindlessly toss it away on cheap peanuts.
All right, final section, part 5, real magic, action and motivation. So, we've identified the prison, the trap, and the autopilot loop. Now let's talk about the ultimate solution to all that confusion, fear, and procrastination. Let's go back to Alcatraz for a second. How did Frank Morris actually achieve the impossible? I'll tell you what he didn't do. He didn't sit in his cell totally paralyzed, waiting for some flawless, 100-step master plan to fall into his lap. No, he started with what he had. He stole a spoon from the kitchen and scraped at the ventilation window for just a few minutes a day. Then he built a fake grill out of cardboard to hide the hole. Then he literally used soap and real hair from the barber shop to craft a dummy head to fool the night guards. He took tiny, consistent actions, using only the tools that were immediately available to him. And honestly, this just brilliantly illustrates exactly how we need to approach our own lives. Looking at a massive, distant future goal, it causes the human brain to panic, to hang, and basically freeze up in depression. You don't need to know how the entire wall is going to be built. You just need to focus on laying 2 or 3 bricks today. That's it. If you successfully lay those bricks today, your future success is basically 100% guaranteed. The magic you're looking for is sitting right in front of you, hidden in today's simple tasks.
But you're probably wondering, how do you even start when you just don't feel like it? Well, consider this secret psychological loop. The single biggest lie we tell ourselves is that we need motivation to take action. Science and psychology actually show it's the exact opposite. You force yourself to take action first. That action provides a tiny little win, which then generates motivation, which fuels even more action. It's a loop. You do not wait for the mood to strike. You act and the mood catches up. You literally program your brain for success by doing the work regardless of how you happen to feel in that exact moment.
Well, we've reached the end of our explainer today, and I really want to leave you with this one thought. Every single morning you wake up, you are handed a golden pebble. You have the choice to lay a brick, let go of the cheap peanuts, and actually chip away at the walls of your comfort zone, or you can just go right back to sleepwalking and toss it into the sea. Today is your golden pebble. Are you going to throw it away, or will you use it to finally break out of Alcatraz? The choice is entirely up to you. Keep learning, keep taking action, and we will catch you on the next one.